Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
Your mic's all bubbly again.
Oh no, it wasn't this whole time. We've been talking for like 7 hours.
It's good
I'm
now. So
Courtney.
if you just lean into it the whole time and like
And I
record
just
like
creepy,
ASMR.
like creepiness. I'm Courtney.
Um, Speaking
Welcome to
of
it.
creepiness, how are you?
I forgot about this part of the show. Um, I don't know how I am, obviously. I'm fine, I guess. I went to the Bills game last week and I was not fine. I have
No.
lost both. Well, I lost last week and I will likely lose this week because all I have left is
Mm.
the Panthers defense. So I don't think it's going to be enough to make up for this weekend.
Mm.
Um, so football's not doing it for me right now, which is fine, I guess. But I did go see a movie yesterday that was fun. I don't know those of you who have an Alamo Draft House around here. They do this thing called Fantastic Fest. And they I don't know the full concept of it, so I'm just going to tell you what I think it is. It
Okay.
seems to me that they premiere all of these indie films all in one week, and it's very curated and all this stuff, and some
Hmm.
of them have Q&As and all this different stuff. Mine didn't have any of that, but I went and saw, it's called Satanic Hispanic, and it is a story of, it has some Hispanic folklore, and it's almost an anthology. It's a guy who's telling you five different stories about what happened, like how he got here, essentially.
Yeah.
um some of them were good, some of them were not, as you do. I'm not really sure where we fall in anthologies. I want to like them. I like the concept
Yeah.
because I like a book of short stories.
Right, right, right,
um
right.
Most of them fall flat for me though, but this one was fine. It was fine. So if you want to watch it, go for it. There's one
Nice.
story that was very gory and I did not enjoy, but other than that, it's fine. Yeah, so that's how I am, all over the place, but here. How are
Yeah.
you?
I am tired as shit. I don't know how I sound on the podcast, but I have my annual first week of school sore throat. It's lovely.
You
But
don't sound like you have a sore throat. You do sound a little tired though.
oh, okay. I'm in pain talking. But
Mm.
it's totally fine. I worked like 30 hours at Shays since Thursday, like on top of the fact that it's the first week of school. So
That's
it's been a week. Um, but we're at Shays. Most of the time I was working was a local production of The Color Purple, which has been phenomenal. If you are in the Buffalo area or are going to be in the Buffalo area anytime before the end of September, you have to see The Color Purple. It is beautiful.
They're
So
doing
good.
a remake of the movie. Is that what's
Yes.
happening? I was like, there's other news I've heard about The Color Purple
Mm.
recently.
But yeah, the show's stunning. But so most of those days I was there, but I also had an unnecessarily long desk shift um,
On
because we
Saturday,
on Saturday because we were
you
teching.
were there the whole day. You talked to me. You were there, and I was like,
Yeah,
"How are you there at 8 a.m. and at 9 p.m.? Those are
it
not
was a
good."
10-hour shift. And it's a tech shift, so there wasn't a show, so there was nothing for me to do. I literally just had to sit there for 10 hours. But it was lovely because it was one of the first days that the cast was there. So people were filtering in and getting used to signing up and everything. And I met someone who, in my mind, is like famous, but also like I'm weirdly obsessed with Broadway people. And so, like, I think everyone on Broadway is famous. And then I remember that, like, most of them could walk through a supermarket on
Barely
a
make
normal
living
Tuesday
wage.
and they barely make a living wage and walk through a
Yeah.
supermarket on a Tuesday and no one would know who they are.
Hmm.
But Rob McClure,
I love him.
I love him. I love him so much. I was like freaking out. I was trying to explain all like his Tony nominations to Dan and like what he did and who he is, and he was like, "Okay." So, yeah. He is obviously continuing his role in Mrs. Doubtfire for the national tour, and he
Mhm.
was like just so kind and like genuine and humble and like as excited to be there and know the local people as we were to have him there. And he just like is the greatest person, and I adore him. Like I
I
was
never
already
got
a
to see the show, but I told you they did their closing party at the bar.
yeah.
And so I met him, but it was the party that I was worked for 2 hours and didn't make any money and was really pissed off. But it was fine. It was so nice to meet the
Yeah.
cast.
Yeah. Well, and the color purple was also great with New York connections because my friend Raphael, who is the who's hair and makeup on Some Like It Hot, living in New York, he came back to do hair and makeup for this show, so he was here for opening, so I
Oh,
got to see him,
that's so
my
nice.
love. So I had some Broadway love this weekend, and that made it a little bit better.
I also want to say, speaking of like walking by people and not noticing, this is not just a Broadway star. She is like a real person star.
Oh,
But I was walking down the street yesterday or day before. Oh no, like Friday or Thursday, getting my lunch. And me and Noelle were talking, and I was like, I had turned my head and I was saying something to her. And she goes, Vanessa Williams, and I was like, what? Like, why are you just saying this out of nowhere? She's like, how's Vanessa Williams? And I was like, oh. And like she knew her because she worked on POTUS for a while. And so like she got to know her. But I was just like, did not know and like almost bumped elbows with her and didn't notice her. And like I'm just oblivious to the world though.
it's
Like
so funny because I was actually talking about Vanessa Williams yesterday because yesterday was Doug's birthday. And so, in honor of Doug's birthday, Dan and I started listing off every significant event that has happened on September 17th for the history of the world. And Vanessa Williams was crowned the first Black Miss America on September 17th. Um,
oh,
so, I was literally just talking about Vanessa Williams yesterday.
I love her.
Me too.
And that happy birthday, Doug. But also we love Vanessa Williams, so
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah,
But
I
then
haven't
the
had
funny
a
thing was,
lot of Broadway love.
we started with like good things that happened on September 17th and then just like progressively started talking about like every tragic thing, like every like plane explosion, every war battle, every awful thing. And then I go, oh my God, it's Patrick Mahomes' birthday. And that was the winner. That was the winner for the worst thing that happened on September 17th.
Well, you know, is what it is.
Oh,
It
I
is what it
forgot to
is.
check. Did Jacksonville pull it out yesterday? I don't think they did.
I don't know. I was watching Satanic Hispanic and then I went to bed. So
Oh, they
I don't have any
didn't.
answers for you.
They did not. I really wanted Patrick Mahomes to lose for his birthday, but he didn't. Oh,
Um, would have been
yeah.
nice. It's
But
unfortunate.
but yeah. Things that aren't unfortunate is Stargate, obviously. But so
Um,
Stargate.
do you not want me to spiritually uplift you
Oh my
before we get
God.
started?
I
You were giving me
forgot.
a really good segue into that,
I
and then
was.
you
That would have been
just
such
ran
a good
away.
segue, and then I just fucked it all up.
You just threw it
Um,
all away.
I threw away the best segue I've ever had. But yeah,
So
Courtney,
pretend like
please.
none of that happened.
You know what? Oh, I don't even remember what I said to like redo this
Just
the segue. God damn it. Just spiritually enlighten me before I ruin anything else.
this is short but sweet and what we all need to hear today. This is anything but easy, but you are anything but weak.
I love that.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Um, I also love Stargate.
I
Back
do
to
also love
segues.
Stargate. That was we'll go there now, I guess.
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
next.
So Stargate SG-1 Season 4, Episode 10, Beneath the Surface. Um, Before I talk about this episode, I want to tell you that I gave you the best sneak peek of this episode last week
I feel like we
with
haven't talked in 7 weeks, so I don't know what you
yeah,
said.
because what I said gave you no hints, but it also gave you all of the hints because I said I have no memories of this episode
That was an
because
excellent one. That
I
is
am
correct.
such an asshole. Um Yeah,
Well, my first impression of this episode, I did not go there. I was not sure if they were in a cult or in a bunker. So
that
I
is
was, I literally rewound the first 8 minutes
super
of this
fair.
episode and watched it again. I was like, I
That's
don't know.
great. I watched the first couple minutes twice because I started watching the episode at work and then I didn't finish it. So then when I rewatched it with Dan, I just started the episode over. Um, and I had literally been like, "Hey, Doug, I'm watching the episode where they have no memory and they're um, in the dome camp." And Doug was like, "Oh yeah, that's a great one, but I'm glad you prefaced it because they have no memory is not necessarily a giveaway on the show of what episode you're talking about." And so then we start watching the episode, and Dan was like, "Where are they? What are they doing? Oh wait, no, they have no memory. They don't know either. Never mind. I'll shut up now." um, but yeah, so this episode was rated 7.4 stars. Um, okay, I don't disagree. I
Sure.
mean, I like it, but I also think it was
I
not.
like it, but I think I'm still, are we, you're gonna say this in 30 seconds, but are we still with the same writers that are like the new writers that are going in?
No,
No,
we are not.
because it feels like everything has just felt so out of place the last like 3 or 4 episodes. So I'm like, maybe I'm just still adjusting to the
Yeah,
changes.
no, no. Unfortunately, that is not the actual reason. It
Oh,
was
good.
just kind of weird. Um, so this episode came out on Friday, September 1st, 2000. And I think somehow I just realized we've been talking about the 90s and 2000s, but now that I'm writing September 2000 and writing it out, I'm realizing that this is older than 9/11.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
was a weird, weird thing in my brain. Um, because it will get weirder for me in a second. The same movie, song, and book were all number one, so that didn't change.
Great.
But the on this day, September 1st, 2000 was the day the Nokia 3310 was released. Mm-hmm. For those
Well,
of
that is
you,
a great phone.
for those of you who are not old as dirt, the Nokia 3310 is what people commonly refer to as the brick. It is one of the first cell phones, and it was quite literally a small brick.
It was the first phone that I learned I had addiction to phone games on.
Yeah. It only had T9 texting, and the games that it did have were like Snake
Snake. It was
and
just
Pong.
Snake.
Did it
I
not?
don't think
Did
mine had Pong. My
I don't know
iPad
if
had Pong,
mine
but
had Pong either. No, it might have just had Snake.
I think mine just had Snake.
Yeah.
But I did get an iPod like within that time frame, maybe like what, like 8 years later. So
Yeah.
I guess within that time frame, but it feels like
Yeah.
all old technology now.
No,
Um,
that was my house phone. Like we switched from a landline to having a cell phone as a house phone so that also like if we went somewhere like we could
mm,
like one of the kids before we had cell phones, we could have like a way to communicate with our parents. So the Nokia 3310 was my house phone.
that's genius. We still have a house phone. We still have a landline in my parents.
Um, it's also the phone number that was our house phone number when my sister got her cell phone. Um, we just gave her that one. So she has the same number. So I will never forget her number because it used to be my house number. It's great.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so we are old as dirt, just in
great.
case
Love it.
we hadn't thought about that this week.
In case we hadn't had an existential crisis this week.
This episode was directed by Peter DeLuise. It was written by Heather E. Ash, who is not new, but we haven't talked about her in a long time. She wrote 3 episodes in season 3.
Okay, but I think I also do her from something else.
Um, I did
I
not
may have
write
made
which
that up.
episodes she wrote. So
There
if
may
you
be an
give me
author who has a similar name.
maybe, I was like, if you give me 1 second and I look at um, her stuff because I did not write down which episodes she wrote. Um,
Also, while you're looking for that, I really like the top of your top. I don't know what your whole top looks
Thanks. It's
like.
a dress. It's a skater dress.
Mm, I love it. I love it more now.
It's my favorite. She wrote, oh no, the season 3 episodes that she wrote, we talked a lot about because she wrote Learning Curve, Foothold, and New Ground.
Mm, hmm. Maybe that's
Um,
why I remember her so much.
yeah. Um, and it was edited by Rick Martin, so no one knew there. And the guest star that we are going to talk about is Allison Matthews, who played Brenna. She was known for Snow Dogs, Final Destination 2, and
The best one.
Stargate SG-1. So like
That's all
amazing.
she really needs, though. I mean,
Right.
like,
What else do you need in life?
no, no,
Um,
nothing.
Final
You've got
Destination
horror,
2,
sci-fi, and family friendly. You have got
correct.
all of the genres.
Final Destination 2 is the log one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, worst movie I've ever seen. And not that it's a bad movie, it's just that it has made the most impact on me in my entire life ever because there is not a thing in life I
I'm
think
like
about more than the
90% sure because I think the third one is the roller coaster one, and I think the second one is the log one. And the first one was a little more low key because they didn't know what they were
yeah,
doing.
right. No, but the logs falling off the truck is something that I think about more often than just about anything else in my
Oh,
entire life.
everything. Every time I'm behind a log truck, if I see a log truck on a road, it's what I think
Yeah.
of. Like
Yeah, every
that
single time.
movie did not know what it was doing at the time.
No, it was called, or
I
it did.
also, it probably did because these people probably already had that fear. They're like, get ready, rest of the world.
I do think
Um,
Final Destination films were just a bunch of people being like, what is the most irrational fear I have? Let's also give
yeah.
everyone that irrational fear.
I mean, I also have had fears with tanning beds because of Final Destination. Like
Yeah,
that, like I was concerned I was going to get burned alive. I had to figure out how to prop it to make sure that I wasn't going to die. I never died in a tanning bed, obviously.
obviously.
Um, and you're more likely to get cancer than die by being crushed and closed in one. But it was pretty terrifying.
Although I will say my fear of Final Destination with the log is now worse because of the fact that something did fly off of someone's car and hit me three
Yeah.
weeks ago. So it was a piece of plastic and all it did was break the light bulb of my turn signal. But now that that has
But
happened,
now you know it could happen.
yeah, now that it's happened, well, I'm screwed. I will die.
Man, we're gonna have to cover Final Destination one the podcast. It's
Oh
one of
my
my
God.
favorites.
Oh my God. Most of what she does, back to Elsa Matthews, most of what she does is actually the English dubs for anime. When I first saw her name, I was like,
Interesting.
she looks super familiar. And it's really just because I'm 90% sure she's been at a con that I've been at and I didn't know who she was because
I would guess so.
she does a lot of voiceover work for anime. So I'm sure she's been at a,
Anyone like that stands out?
yeah. Oh, the ones that she said
That was a question.
it was a question. I'm trying to, what was the one? There was one that I saw and I knew the name and then I didn't write it down because I hadn't watched it. Um, what?
My
Oh, shoot.
friend met the woman who voiced Ash Ketchum, and he
Mm,
was at the con.
nice.
It was like on Jamie's birthday, and so he called Jamie and had her like say happy birthday in Ash's voice or sing happy birthday or something in Ash's voice, and it's like still at least like last time I checked, it was still on his voicemails from like years ago.
Nice. Mobile Suit Gundam, Inuyasha,
I used to love Inuyasha.
and
Did
Ghost in
she
the
play the main?
Shell.
Did she do the main girl character on Inuyasha?
Um, no, she was in 3 episodes of Inuyasha.
Oh, that's
Um,
silly.
she was Galaxy Angel was a big one she did. But
Never
like I
saw
said,
that.
but also I apparently didn't look at her IMDb very closely when I did this because she
Mhm.
was in fact in one episode of Bates Motel.
Who did she
She
play?
she played a doctor in season 4.
Well,
In the
that is just
in
there's no way to know.
exactly in the season 4 finale, she played a doctor. So I don't know.
No, no way to know.
No, exactly. That
But
means
she's
nothing.
done it all. She's
Yeah.
incredible. I love her.
Um, she also did a lot of stage work, and she is the head acting coach at the Bard in the Beach Shakespeare Festival in Vancouver. Um,
Nice, nice.
I could not find any social media for her because, fun fact, Allison Matthews is apparently the most common name, but everyone spells it. So, like, hers is one L in Allison and two T's in Matthews. But there's any combination of the spelling of those two words, there is an Allison Matthews. Um,
Great.
so it was not, I could not find her online.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But we start this episode with a bunch of guys waking up in some kind of camp around fires, and all of SG-1 appears to be there. But
Mhm.
as of yet, we have no idea what is happening. Um, and then a lady appears on a balcony and says that they will have energy for 2 months because of their work. And she says that the planet is covered in ice, but one day they will reclaim their place on the surface. You know, that makes
Sounded
sense.
very Kimmy Schmidt of them.
Right. It was I think the
That's when I
only
was like,
thing
is it cult or bunker? Like, how do I know?
right, I would say I think the only thing we talked about this season being a little all over the place in terms of what their through lines were, but there is one through line, and that is cult references. Because every episode we've been like, that's a little culty. Um,
Yeah. Maybe they were all like in the process of joining Scientology this season. And then they like break them
or
out of it before.
or maybe they all like lost family members to Scientology and were trying to like
Mm,
explain what a cult was to their families.
yeah, but subtly. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm. No way to know, but that's what I'm gonna
I
say now.
I love that I just said that like Scientology was like cancer or something. I was like, they lost family members to Scientology.
Well, it's like the wine and crime gals. They say I've fallen pregnant when they get pregnant.
Well,
Like it's a disease. I mean, I could get
well,
behind it. That's how I would feel if I fell pregnant.
I mean, I guess it grammatically, if you use fallen in the same way that you would for like I've fallen ill, like yeah, if you're using fallen as a synonym for like a change in your body, then yes, you would fall pregnant. That is, hmm. I've been on a weird linguistics kick lately, which has a lot to do with my classes.
Yeah.
But then I also went into a deep dive while watching this episode on Reddit about why Daniel Jackson doesn't pronounce gold correctly.
And why is that?
Well, from everything that I can see on Reddit, and this is not substantiated in the show itself, but it does make sense. When he is speaking gold, he says it correctly. Like when he's speaking Jaffa, like the language that
Yeah.
has that word in it, he says it correctly. When he's speaking English, he doesn't. And it has to do with the fact that English doesn't like hiatus. There aren't words in English with that space between vowel sounds. It is a weird linguistic
Like the
thing.
dialect is different for English speaking people than it is
Yes.
for.
So, yeah, so because we don't in English we don't have words that have
Mhm.
that space, and that's why so many people have like trouble pronouncing correctly like African American names where there is that hiatus between vowels and
Mhm.
things like that. Um, and someone was talking about like a real life example would be the fact that like when you are speaking to someone in English, you don't change the pronunciation of like Chinese city names to be the correct
Mhm.
Chinese pronunciation. And it is not, or like the fact that you don't, unless you're a pretentious asshole, you don't call Paris Paris every time you say it, even though that's
Mhm.
the correct way to say that word. So it was just talking about the linguistics of like blending foreign words into English rather than like isolating them as foreign words, and how that like linguistically actually makes more sense than him stopping to pronounce it correctly every time.
Interesting.
And so I was going off on this whole thing because this past week's lesson for my TESOL classes was about language acquisition. And so like I was like all in my brain about it. And the whole time I'm reading all of this data like out loud to Dan, he was having the same thought. And then I said it out loud and he laughed because he was having the same thought, but then didn't say it because he didn't want to interrupt my flow. But both of us could think about was at least Daniel doesn't pronounce it the way Hammond does. The Gould.
That's true. Yes, that is true. Hammond of Texas, though. If you ask someone in Texas, that's how they would say it, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So
yes.
I'm just learning how words are.
Yeah. That was your linguistics lesson for the week.
I like it.
The team is in line for slop. I also was watching Big Brother right before I watched this, so that's why I called it slop, apparently. And Sam asks for bread. This girl, Kagan, clearly does not like her. And it causes a whole conundrum. And Jack attacks her for bread. But the weird part is Daniel calls him Jonah.
Yep.
Teal'c breaks up the fight between Jack and Daniel and starts yelling at Jack for not remembering who they are and saying that they have to remember. And Brenna comes down from the balcony and sends Teal'c away and says that he has night sickness and makes Kagan give Thera her bread. And then Jonah apologizes to Brenna for this whole situation and says, "It is my honor to serve." And then we get the credits.
And nothing makes sense.
Nothing makes sense.
Mm-mm.
That was one of the weirdest openings. Because usually when we get a weird opening, even if the characters don't know what's going on, we have like some semblance of the story.
Yes.
We have nothing. And then after the credits, it's now 5 days later. So that's great. And Daniel, whose name in this weird world is Carlin, is getting a tutorial from Kagan on some new technology pressure valve thing.
Also, I am sure this isn't why they did this.
Yeah.
But Daniel Jackson is the linguist.
Yeah.
And George Carlin is known for his 4-letter words. So feels appropriate.
I'm so curious where they got these names from, because one of the 4 of their names is a trivia fact, but the other 3, no idea.
Is it George Carlin?
It is not George Carlin. That I think is a valid theory because it is funny and it checks out and the time period would line up. Not that George Carlin did 4-letter words in 2000, but like that.
No, but it was talked about a lot still in 2000.
Yeah. And Jonah is just like close to Jack, but like they clearly didn't just like go close to it because no one else's name makes any sense. So like I don't know who Jonah and Thera are, because I'll tell you the name
Jonah,
that,
like in the belly of the well.
That's what I thought too. But what that have to do with this episode?
He broke out. Jack helped them break out. I don't know.
That is a very loose connection.
Look, Thera flu. What does that have to do with Sam?
Oh my God, I could use some Theraflu right now. Holy crap. But
probably could too, and I'm not sick right now. That would help me though in life.
When you stopped and said, "Hold on, I want to talk for a second," I thought you were going to take this opportunity to say the exact same thing that Dan said to me at this moment in the episode. And that was that, of course, Daniel has another girl.
I did not. I did not because I was so thrown off by what was happening that
Yeah.
it didn't come to me.
Yeah, no. As he was standing there with this girl, Dan just goes, "Of course. Why wouldn't this be how that works?"
Yes, but that is a fair observation.
Yeah. Um, but so he sees Teal'c coming down from the balcony and asks about him, and we get some backstory. And Kagan explains that night sickness makes people go crazy, and that um, this one guy like freaked out so much that he tried to break out through the ceiling, and Daniel just goes, "Did it work?"
Valid question.
Right. And she was like, "No, if it had, we'd all be dead because we're trapped under the ice."
Bet it
Right.
did work. I bet he did get out. And he was just like, screw you guys. No one believes me. I'm out.
Yeah. And now that he's back from his treatment, Teal seems to have no memory of Jack or their altercation. Like, Jack gets nervous when Teal walks by him, and Teal doesn't even seem to like recognize him at all. Um, then one of the machines starts to blow up, and Sam like freaks out and fixes it, and then tells Brenna that she thinks she knows a way to make all of their valves more stable and like wants to help get the work done. And Brenna tells her to come by her office a little bit later to talk about technology. Because even with no memory, Sam is still able to like solve all of the problems.
That
Um,
seems to be a consistency and not just
yeah.
Stargate, but other things. You lose all your memory, but you remember everything you were taught, even if you don't remember who you were.
Yeah. I hate that concept
Me too. It bothers me every time.
because I don't think that that's how the brain works.
Mm-mm. I understand like language maybe and like motor skills are separate, like that I can
Right.
follow, but you
And like
can learn everything
maybe
you've trained, but not remember how you know it. Like,
right, like maybe like baseline intelligence, like someone who is has a
sure,
general IQ, higher IQ is going to have a higher baseline intelligence level, um, and probably pick skills up faster. But you're not just gonna like
sure.
know everything.
Yeah.
That yeah.
So that's always my complaint every time this happens. And it happens all the time.
And this is not the first time it's happened here either, because that
No, it's
happened.
not.
It happened with what's her name, the Destroyer of Worlds, and all
Mm-hmm,
of her
mm-hmm.
science and everything. She supposedly had no idea who she was, but she knew all of the science,
Everything else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yep.
Um, so Sam and Jack are flirting a little bit, um, and like, but like weirdly flirting by talking about being workaholics.
So
Um,
weird. I mean, granted, that's
which
probably how I flirt too, but like
I was
still.
gonna say, which the only thing that made it weirder was the fact that I think that Dan and I definitely had that same conversation before we were dating at work. So that's weird. Um, but um,
Foreshadowing.
Kagan talks to Daniel about like Jack and Sam and how they think they're better than everyone and like how she doesn't like them. And Daniel can't stop thinking about how Teal'c said that they were like friends. And now he's like obsessed with trying to figure out why he knows them or how he knows them. And Kagan's like, yeah, but Teal'c's not even his name. His name is Tor. Like he had the night sickness. Nothing he said means anything. And that is where the trivia comes in because the senior story editor for Stargate is Tor Alexander Valenza.
Oh, I
Yeah.
went to a lot of different places for Tor. There's the Tor publisher, there's Tor website,
No.
there's like I went so many places, but yes, yours makes the most sense.
um, Then we go back to SGC for the first time in this episode, which feels very late in the episode. I don't think it actually was. I think it was only like 8 minutes in, but it felt
It
very
was
late.
because when we got to SGC is when I restarted the episode and I was like, and it was 8 minutes and 26 seconds in. I was like, we're just gonna
Fantastic.
watch that again. See
Yeah.
what
So
happened.
about eight, which I guess is a fifth of the episode. If you think about it, it's a 40-minute episode, 8 minutes is a
Hmm.
fifth of the episode. So yeah, that is a significant portion to finally have an answer. Um,
Hmm.
but so back at SGC, Sergeant Harriman and General Hammond are using a video link to talk to who they call Administrator Calder. Um, and Administrator Calder is saying that SG-1 went out to explore a glacier and they can't find them. Um, sorry. And he says that Sam wanted to do some science research and Jack was overly, what is the word that he used? Overly confident that they would be able to survive the conditions, which almost sounds like he's correctly identifying Jack and Sam's personalities. So if
Like
I
those
don't,
are their personalities, but they're also like realistic. And this was not a realistic like move for them.
yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to ever believe him because, like, obviously we just saw
Right.
them.
Obviously we don't. Right.
We don't, but he says it in a way where like they try to convince you for like 28 seconds that you're supposed to think this guy is not the bad guy, but he obviously is.
Yeah. Well, at
Um,
first when he first came on, I was like, is did they like go to explore this glacier and go underneath and find the bunker and someone like poisoned them there, like erasing memories there? And I was like, so maybe this guy wasn't there. But it was
mm,
about, I don't know, 3.5 seconds that I believe that. But I like just tried to piece it together based on what he was saying. And then I was like,
right.
no, he's in charge here. Like,
Yeah. So then once he hangs up with SGC, we see Administrator Calder tell his assistant that he wants to see Brenna so that he can find out how the new workers are doing. Um, then that night, Daniel has a weird dream where Jack is telling him to go through the Stargate and Kagan is telling him not to. And he is just like staring at the Stargate in awe. And then he wakes up. Um,
a lot of
and
weird dreams this week.
uh, Then we see Hammond on the video call again, but this time he is with Captain Griff, who is not Captain Griff. I wrote Captain Griff because 2 episodes ago he was Captain Griff, but apparently in the interim where we did not see him for 2 episodes, he got a promotion because now he's a major, and I want to know when that happened. These are the kind of plot holes that,
Yeah.
sorry, I just knocked an empty pop bottle over. These are the plot holes that upset me. Not not the things that are like relevant, like Sam's fading in and out of her Goa'uld powers. I want to know why Captain Griff got a promotion and no one told me.
Right, right.
Um,
Well,
so
that is a very
Major,
valid question.
this man who's been in literally 2 episodes and is completely irrelevant to the plot, his promotion status affects me. Um,
Look, I need to figure out his promotion status because I would like to apply it to my own life where I do 2 days of work, disappear, and then come back and get a promotion.
yeah, no, valid.
I would like that.
Yeah, sounds about right. But so Hammond is talking to Major Griff, and they're stuck in a snowstorm, and they were like, "There's no way we can go any farther. Like, we have to go back. We can't find them." Um, then we're back in the bunker, and Daniel is asking Teal'c about all kinds of things, and Daniel is being the most Daniel, and there's not a like ounce of slyness or subtlety in anything he's saying. He's like, "What's that on your forehead? Why are you wrapped up? What's your name? What are we doing here? Who am I? Who are you?" And Teal'c's
Is
like,
too much. Like, I like Daniel as a character on this show, and I like him even more when he doesn't wear his glasses. But I would have killed him right then. I would have just full cult bunker
Yeah.
mentality, turn around with something sharp and just
Yeah.
stabbed him.
Yeah, no, which it honestly surprising that Teal'c doesn't. Teal'c just goes, I don't know you. Do not talk to me.
That's the correct response. I get it. That's the
Yeah.
correct response, but
Yeah.
I'm incapable of that response, I believe.
Fair enough. Um, I don't know that I don't know that I would have either of those responses. I think I would just get awkward and uncomfortable and leave. Like I theoretically am a bad bitch. And
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm in my territory, like in my classroom, on the podcast, in my relationship, when I know what I'm doing, I am so confident. If a strange man I didn't know walked up to me and started asking me questions, I would genuinely crumple.
See, that's how I would be in my regular daily life, but like in bunker life, that feels different. I
That's
feel
true.
like I would
Maybe
like fight or flight would be your option in bunker because like these people you live with every day.
that's true.
And I feel like I'd be a little more like feral.
Valid. I can see that.
So,
Um, then Kagan gets mad at Daniel for talking to him, and she's like, Daniel's like, yeah, but I've been having these weird dreams, and I think they might mean something, and I think he might have been right, and then we might actually be friends with them. She goes, if you're friends with them, I don't want to be friends with you because they suck and I hate them.
yes, exactly.
I was like, okay.
But also like she sucks.
Yeah, I was like, way to give him an ultimatum, and you're not even his real girlfriend.
And you don't even know his real name.
Rude. Um, and she's like, if the wrong people hear what you're saying right now, they're gonna think you have night sickness. And he's like, who are the wrong people? She's like, I mean, I would never. Bitch, yes, you would.
You just said like you're starting the rumor now. You are the Regina George of this group.
Up in Administrator Calder's room, he asks Brenna why the memory stamp didn't work on Teal'c, and she was like, "Well, because like he's not the same species as everyone else. Like I don't, obviously."
It's just
Um,
how the science works.
yeah, and then she's like, "But like Sam has these great ideas about like how we could make everything more efficient and make the like mines or whatever safer, the plant safer." And if he wasn't in his villain era before, he's like, um, no, because you need to cut out this radical thinking. The workers are the workers, and the city people are the city people, and the city people would never allow their lifestyles to be hampered by your dirty, dirty people.
Very Hunger Games of him.
Right? Hunger Games all the way with.
I'm comparing this to every pop culture reference I've ever known in my life,
Yeah.
apparently. So
Well, I mean, because there
let's
are
see
a
what
lot
else I
of
can
them.
find.
Um, yeah, but it was very Hunger Games of him, and that's exactly what I thought of as well. Um, so then back in her office, Brenna tells Sam that they won't be using any of her ideas and that she is not paid to have ideas, basically.
And then I
And
would stab her.
yeah, Sam was like, I swear you were just happy about this. She goes, well, I was wrong.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm-mm.
okay, well, that's suspicious.
Brenna
Um,
clearly needed our spiritual guidance today. Brenna,
clearly.
you are not weak. You can do this.
And then Sam vents to Jack about how this is so stupid and she's so mad at Brenna. And he's just like, well, why don't you just go up there and like give her like a tiny nugget and like warm her up and do like one piece at a time? Like, nobody needs to change the world 180 degrees in one day. And she's just like, why are you so calm all the time? And he's like, well, in another life, I think I handled explosives. Um,
To
and she was like, in another life? And he goes, I don't know, it's just an expression.
be fair, I come up with the most random expressions a lot of times when I speak that
Yeah.
just come from nowhere. So
And
like
also
even if it
like
weren't a real expression, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks.
right. But also like in another life. I don't know how that's not just an expression. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Like, why are you questioning someone to say that?
Right. Like they're later when they start questioning things, they're legitimate things to question. But like
Sure.
this one was weird to me that they
Right.
questioned it. She was like, "What do you mean by that?" It means that I don't know, like I'm cool under pressure. Like the fucking metaphor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, um, oh, then we go back to SGC and the ice exploring team comes back and Major Grift is like talking to General Hammond and General Hammond's like off the record. What is going on? He goes, off the record, Administrator Calder is a damn liar, and I don't buy for a fucking second that Jack would have ever walked into that ice. He goes, first of all, I cannot begin to understand what Major Carter or Dr. Jackson would have wanted to explore. But I also know Colonel O'Neill well enough to tell you
Not.
fucking fat chance in hell that he did that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You get it, Major. That's why he's Major now.
Yes, that is that in and of itself is why he had a promotion, even though the promotion happened
Mm-hmm.
first.
Doesn't matter. They knew.
Yeah, they knew.
They gained
Um,
future memories when all SG-1 lost their past memories. That's
right,
how it
that's how that.
works. Mm-hmm.
Then back in the plant, Daniel tells Kagan that he is still convinced that Jonah and Thera were actually his friends. And oh, this is when she was like, "I don't want to have anything to do with you if you're friends with them because I'm a dick." Um, and then Teal'c just decides he's going to blow up the plant. Wasn't a
Fight or flight,
hundred.
baby.
I wasn't 100% sure what the choice on that
Who
one was.
knows?
So
Who knows?
then SG-1 gets to work to fix the problem and save the day like they always do. Sam and Jack and Daniel just immediately split up and do all the right things and save the plant. Um, then, in what is definitely the most President Snow's thing I've ever seen, Brenna's like, "Thank you so much for saving the day. We're all so indebted to you. We will still not be using any of your ideas. Fuck the plant." What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So then Daniel's like, "Hey, I think that teal guy might have been onto something. Because I just feel like there's more to me than this. I feel like we were meant to do something bigger." And Jack's like what?
He's like bigger than save the planet. Like,
I don't
yeah.
understand. Um, and then Daniel starts to tell them about his dream, and Sam's like, "Oh my God, no, I had like the same dream." And Jack says, "For crying out loud," which I realized Jack says a lot. That is like a Jack catchphrase. But I
Right.
realized while watching this episode that if swearing were acceptable on TV in the time of Stargate, Jack's catchphrase would actually be "for fuck's sake," because that is how
A
he
thousand
feels
percent.
all of the
Mhm.
time.
Thousand
I
percent.
literally, as he starts to open his mouth, I say "for fuck's sake" with him because, like, that is where we're at.
Because you know.
So then they agree to meet, but they have to do it after lights out so that no one catches them. And uh, Daniel asks Jack if he had a dream, and Jack insinuates that he is having inappropriate dreams about Samantha.
I should hold on for a second. Sorry, there were people that were like heavy breathing and like it sounded like they were dropping couches like outside my door and it was much longer than I feel like it should have been. So I went to go check. But they're gone now, so I guess they're fine. I guess they made it. I was concerned that
Yeah,
someone was dying.
that is concerning. Almost as concerning as Jack thinking that uh, he has any right to say that his
Yeah.
dreams are not appropriate. Um, but so then Daniel continues to push this issue and he's like, do you remember the mines? And Jack's like, yeah. He's like, what did you do in the mines? He's like, I mined. I don't what? And Jack is incredibly
Terrible
obstinate.
response.
He's obstinate as shit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then Daniel says everything feels like a facade, that if you ask too many questions, it will all just fall apart.
Then why does he keep asking questions? Like, does he want it to fall apart? Does he want them to all die by the ice outside that he thinks is real?
Maybe. Um, what is that even right? I wrote Sam calls Jack. Oh, sir. It looks like it says in. It looks like it says Sam calls Jack sin. And I was like, she calls him what does that even mean? She calls him sir. He's like talking about
Yes.
something and she's like, I don't think so, sir. And they're all like, why did you do that?
Super suspicious.
Super suspicious. Unfortunately, the moment of suspicion was also ruined for me by the fact that Dan responded with, yes, daddy. And making fun of her calling him sir, even though they were in a pseudo relationship. And I wanted to punch him.
You
um,
should have. He
um,
deserved it.
but then back at SGC, Dr. Frazier is telling Hammond that everyone on Griff's team is fine, and he's stressing about the fact that SG-1's missing, and that Calder needs them a lot more than he needs Calder. Like the tech from Calder would be great, but it seems to him that the resources Calder needs are actually more important, and that he definitely feels like he has the upper hand. Um, so he is having Major Griff create a covert search and rescue mission, and Dr. Fraser volunteers to go.
He is, look, she's
Yeah,
ready to save the world.
correct.
I'm still
Um,
mad at that guy on that review 7 years ago that said she was unnecessary.
yeah, yeah, that is incorrect.
That's what I think every time something like this happens. I'm like, she's literally going to save the world.
Yeah. Um, then at lunch in the plant, Sam, Jack, and Daniel are comparing notes, and Jack starts having flashes to the dome outside of the city, because one of the people in the plant has a bowl that is dome shaped, because that makes a fucking lick of sense.
None of it makes
Um,
sense.
no. Um, And then Teal'c is getting sicker from his valve explosion thing. And the doctor or whatever is like, can I check his wound? And she's like, I forbid you from removing that bandage in like, for any reason, which is mildly suspicious.
It's a
Um,
bit concerning. Yeah.
I was
I don't love it.
concerned. I was concerned that they had tried to remove his snake, and that's why he was getting sick, and that's why they wouldn't let him open the bandage.
Um,
That was my initial concern.
that's a
Obviously,
much higher concern. But yeah, that I
yeah,
had.
yeah.
Probably a better one.
Obviously, that is not what happened.
Yes.
And it makes it their solution, their like reason of Teal'c being sick does also make sense. But when I see Teal'c sick and not getting better, I just assume somebody took Junior out and that we're all fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Jack starts having more and more memories, and he says that he remembers a bald man wearing short sleeves, and he thinks his name is Homer. And that might be one of my favorite lines. Um,
I could not get past this. It's cracking
Speaking
me
of
up.
unnecessary pop culture references,
Unnecessary pop culture, yes. No, the other
um,
day, this is off topic. I'm so sorry. But I was watching The Masked Singer the last season, and my aunt was trying to get me to guess it. And she's like, who's famous for beer? And I was like, Homer Simpson, and it's not him. It's like, I don't know.
speaking of, I meant to ask you, did you watch the season premiere?
I did. It didn't have anything on it but the reveal of the guest star, singer star.
Correct. It was a waste of
Yep.
my time.
It was
I did not
garbage.
watch
Yep.
last night's episode yet.
So I haven't seen it yet either because we're watching it together. So we'll probably watch both episodes, not this weekend, but the next. But we stayed up
Mm.
late Saturday night because we finally finished season 9 at like 1 a.m. We're like, we're gonna watch season premiere today so we aren't behind. And it was garbage.
I didn't watch the season premiere
And
until Saturday.
and they revealed who the secret guest star was in the freaking commercials on Hulu when I was watching the other episodes. So
Oh, see, I
like
didn't. See, I
it
A
was
don't have commercials on. I don't have commercials on Hulu. A and
oh
B,
right.
I don't. I was not behind, so I didn't watch the old episodes before I watched the new one.
Yeah.
But I hated that episode because it wasn't even part of the actual episode. Like
Garbage.
it was
They
so
better
bad.
not have a recap episode this season. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that would be. Oh my god. Anyway, also I was confused for a lot of it because I am still to this day confused about what Demi Lovato's pronoun choice is.
I think that she's changed them back to she. I think that happened about 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
Um, I could be wrong because I'm very bad at keeping
Right.
up with pop culture
Right.
and
But I
like
was like,
people,
I
but I'm like
vaguely remember that.
90%
I
sure.
vaguely remember that happening. But then everyone was just like so confidently using she, not they. And I was like, wait, did this happen?
Are
Is this
we
a thing?
misgendering
I
her
was like, I'm
or
confused. I'm so confused.
yeah, I'm like 90% sure that she changed her pronouns back to she her like within like the past 5 or 6 months.
I don't I don't know.
Somebody asked me if I listened to the new Selena Gomez song the other day. I was like, I didn't even know there was a new Selena Gomez song, and I
There's a
do
new
actually love
Selena
her.
there's a new Selena
Apparently,
Gomez song.
I think there's a new
Sorry.
album.
I've just
Yeah,
been too busy watching Only Murders in the Building and thinking of her
I'm
as
behind.
Mabel to know.
I do need to
I
watch that, but I've been finishing
I
my Paramount Plus.
yeah,
I
good
got
for
caught up on
you.
Blue Bloods now.
Okay. Back to the show that we're talking
Back to the
about
show.
on
I'm
this
so sorry. Homer.
podcast. And no, it's fine. So Jack and Sam are like cuddling a little bit while they're having this conversation, and Sam says that like being with Jack is at least the like one good thing that they have, and he says that like he knows that his feelings for her aren't isolated to this place. He like has memories of feelings for her too, and it's really sad and beautiful. And I looked at Dan. I go, I forgot just how fucking hard season 4 went on the Jack and Sam thing. Like they have gone hard on
We're
this.
not even like next week is our halfway episode.
Yeah, we're not even halfway, and this is the 4th episode this season that is like this is
Yeah.
a thing. Um, so then Brenna tells Calder that Teal'c is dying and that the rest of the team has been meeting in secret, and she thinks that they're like figuring it out, and she's going to redo their memory stamp. And he's like, no, it's fine, let them. I think it's time that we had a conversation.
This guy.
Okay. um then while trying to fall asleep, Jack suddenly has a dream and remembers finding out all about the workers and the slaves and his attack of the city in the first place and his angry feelings toward Administrator Calder. And then he tries to tell Sam what's going on, but they're asked to report to Brenna. They also take Teal'c upstairs, even though he's not like awake yet. And the 4 of them are all in Brenna's office. And Brenna is like, he's dying. And Daniel just goes, Kelnorine.
I burst out loud. I was like,
And she's like, what is that? He said, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
And Jack's like, I do. I know what that is. So they explain it. And they explain what is happening to Teal'c and why he needs it to be alive.
I feel like it is not uncommon for Daniel Jackson to just blurt things out in situations, but it always catches me off guard every time, and I laugh every time.
And then they're like, blah blah blah, like this is not real. And she's like, you're right, it's not. She just like openly is like, yes,
So
we have
matter
in
of
fact
fact.
brainwashed you. You are correct. Your memories are coming back. It is a thing. Um, you need to go home. And as soon as you're home, your memories will start to come back even faster. And so she's like, here, this way through the Stargate. LL JK, Administrator Calder comes in and tries to shoot everyone.
Yeah, well, can't ever be that
Yeah,
easy.
right. Um, and then the rest of SG-1 just like suddenly remembers that they are soldiers in time to beat the shit out of Administrator Calder and everyone with his stuff and take the guns and um, hold him hostage and tell everyone um, that in the plant that he is a terrible person and blows his cover and offers to rescue all of the workers. Um, and he's like, but what will that do for the economy of the planet? You're destroying the lifestyle. And Jack's like, wow, heartbroken, so sad. Um, and then we have a really awkward, sad moment where Jack and Sam like say goodbye to the potential of their relationship again,
Again.
um, and go back home.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is the end of the episode.
Perfect.
So, who do you want to punch?
Oh, I mean Calder. My God.
Oh,
He
that's
started a whole cult bunker.
yeah. He is the correct person because it does have mad President Snow vibes. But because I knew you would pick him, I picked the only other
Mhm.
acceptable person to punch, and that is Kagan
Yeah.
because she
Yeah. And she
sucks.
wasn't like trying to end the world, but she sucks as a person.
Yeah, and because also when they tried to explain to the workers what was happening, she's like, "They're lying." Oh, because I forgot the way that he finally proves it to the workers is that he shoots
Yeah.
the window up top and ice and snow does not fall out.
They
Just
do not
some,
immediately die.
yeah. And then she finally is like, oh, just kidding.
JK,
So,
JK.
so she sucks. Who is your MVP?
So I think the correct answer is Jack, but I'm gonna go with Major Griff because he's the only one that was like, all these people are lunatics. They would never do this. Why can no one just understand that they would never do this? Like,
I don't actually think the correct answer is Jack.
oh, I thought he
See,
saved their lives.
I think the correct answer is Daniel. Because while Jack is the one who does finally put all the pieces together and save
Mhm.
the day, Daniel is the one who refuses to let the idea go that there's something more going on. And he is the one
So
who
that's
like
true.
pushes Sam and Jack to figure it out. Um,
That is true. I just wanted to punch him in the face just because he was like, if I was in that situation, I would want to punch him in the face.
oh yeah, no. If I was
So
Teal'c, I would for sure punch him in the face. But as me, I think I can give him the MVP of the episode.
fair,
Um,
fair.
I would ask if you had any predictions, but like, what the fuck else could
Absolutely not.
happen? Um, I do have some trivia, and most of it we kind of
Yes.
already discussed about. One was the tour name,
Mm-hmm.
one was the Simpsons reference. Uh, one, when Jack said in another life, I think I handled explosives, that is a direct reference to the fact that MacGyver was a bomb tech, which
Mm-hmm.
I obviously geeked out about. And then Daniel and Doug, and my Daniel, not Daniel Jackson, Dan and Doug looked at me, they were like, MacGyver was a bomb tech. And I was like, did we not watch MacGyver? I don't understand.
I
It's
haven't seen
MacGyver.
MacGyver, but I did know
But that's because I talk about MacGyver
that.
way too often. Um, and then the only other thing that I have is that this episode is vaguely based on the 1927 film Metropolis.
Okay.
Um, and that there's also a two-part Star Trek episode that has a very similar plot, also based on Metropolis, that actually didn't come out until 2001, even though they were made for
Oh,
about the same season. So this did come out first.
uh-huh.
Um,
Stargate was first.
yeah, so that's all I have. Um, Next week's episode has a very um, exciting guest star. Um,
Ooh. Is it Dom DeLuise?
it is not, it is actually not someone that we've ever talked about on the podcast before, but it is someone that I know that when we do talk about it, you will be excited about. Um,
I'll try. It's not Dom DeLuise, but I'll try.
someone was just talking about Dom DeLuise. What was I
Is
watching?
it me?
No, I was watching an interview. Someone was talking about comedians being somewhere, and they said, what the shit was I watching?
We were having a fever dream.
That is very possible that I just imagined it because I do not know what it was. So, yeah. Um, but what I do know is that if you have any thoughts, theories, questions, concerns, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all the social medias at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at ENKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you on Thursday for the season finale of The Exorcist.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye!